Welcome back. The FBI is determined that the gun that actor Alec Baldwin handled on the set of the movie Rust that killed cinematographer Halyna Hutchins couldn't have gone off without the pulling of its trigger. William Law Group is in Los Angeles with the latest. William.
Well, Jackie, this could be problematic for Alec Baldwin because of how emphatic he has been in his denial. But two things stand out in this FBI report. One, the report contradicts Baldwin's claim that he did not pull the trigger on the gun that killed Halyna Hutchins. Secondly, there were some fingerprint and DNA tests on the gun, the casings, and the ammunition box, and that did not reveal any surprises, meaning there's no evidence that anyone other than those directly involved tampered with the gun or ammunition. Now, if you recall, in that interview with ABC News, Baldwin claimed he cocked the gun but never pulled the trigger.
I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off. I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off.
At the moment. The decisive
That was the moment the gun went off, yeah. That was the moment the gun went off.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
However, the FBI concluded, quote, with the hammer at full cock position, the revolver could not be made to fire without a pull of the trigger. Now, a spokesman for Baldwin says the media is misreading the report, and they correctly point out that during testing at the FBI, part of the trigger that holds the hammer back broke and the gun fired. This malfunction, they will claim, made the gun unreliable. So the bottom line is this right now. The medical examiner calls the Hutchins death an accident. The question now is, will these FBI reports lead to any criminal charges against Baldwin, from negligence to involuntary manslaughter? That will be up to the Santa Fe District Attorney. Jackie?
William Law Group, that is the big question. Joining me now to break it down, attorney Bob Bianchi. And Bob, let's go ahead and start with that. Criminal charges here against Alec Baldwin. Are we going to see something, involuntary manslaughter or something else?
Well, you know, as a prosecutor who used to make these decisions, especially in homicide cases, one of the things you have to do is you have to go to New Mexico law. You have to understand what it says. And involuntary manslaughter means you did not use due care and circumspection. Those are the words that it uses in order to prove an involuntary manslaughter case to 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. You can be assured here that there is something odd going on with the FBI report because, as was indicated by your reporter, it is accurate that the lawyer is saying, and we just don't know what the truth is here, that apparently this gun broke in two places when they were trying to test fire it. That certainly is going to go to Baldwin's defense if the prosecutor is going to file charges. Again, you got to think like a prosecutor thinks. Can I prove that case to those 12 jurors? The other issue that Baldwin is going to rely upon is that it is clear that there are actors on sets and that they point weapons at people and pull triggers, and that they are not the ones responsible for making the gun safe and make sure it's cold. Rather, the armorer and the assistant director, who in this particular situation admitted he did not check, handed Baldwin a hot gun. That said, last point, one thing that's really going to be of interest to me is supposedly there is an information that says he ignored orders not to do this cross draw and point the weapon at a person or have his finger on a trigger. If in fact that's true, that could be something that proves a lack of due care and circumspection.
I want to ask you a question about a point that one of our Fox colleagues made over the weekend in his analysis. He essentially said that he wasn't sure that this should be a federal case. This is not a situation where Alec Baldwin clearly intended to kill this woman. That is not what happened here. Whether it's negligence, whether it's involuntary manslaughter, or whatever the case may be, that this should really be tried civilly.
Well, I mean, the argument there is that it's an unintentional killing. It can still be an involuntary manslaughter if you don't use due care and circumspection. But the point that legal analyst is saying is that many times people die. That it's unfortunate. It's tragic. It makes a great civil case. But before our laws criminalize conduct and force people maybe to go to prison, they put a much higher burden on it than they do in a civil case, which is much easier to prove.
And final question, Bob. You know, every attorney that I know was shaking their head when Alec Baldwin did that interview with George Stephanopoulos, and he, you know, wanted to set the record straight. I believe he was advised, you know, not to speak. That's what so many attorneys will tell you when something like this happens. And there's an ongoing investigation. Does that in any way complicate matters with respect to what happened that day, the weapon, all of these aspects? The fact that he came on TV, and I'm not going to say that he lied. I don't know that he did lie. He may really believe that that's what happened, that he didn't pull the trigger. He also, it happens in an instant. He might have pulled it and not even been aware of it.
When I represent people that have a high public profile, they feel this need to go to the court of public opinion. And any decent criminal defense lawyer, whether you're innocent or guilty, is going to tell you, do not go there for the very reason that you're bringing up right now. Because one, it's not a good look. Two, if it turns out that what he said is not accurate, well, it may not necessarily lead to a criminal charge.
Yeah.
The fact is, he could also be charged, if he said that to the police, with obstruction of an investigation if it turns out not to be true.
Bob Bianchi, all great points. We'll continue to follow this with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.